I sign my adult indemnification hold harmless, which says I'm not going to sue the city. If I show up with my 13-year-old, I sign mine and the one on behalf of the 13-year-old before they can participate. So that's just sort of an outside component of the policy.
Gotcha. Let's wait till we get a motion and we can talk about questions. All right, everybody's had a chance to read over this, hopefully, in your packet. We have a motion on the table.
We're at 2509, that's what we are.
We're on item D. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I make a motion that we accept the resolution 2509, the resolution adopting the policy for volunteer city litter and garbage removal program.
Second,
All right,
second, second.
second discussion, questions?
Yes, question, Mr. Attorney. So now, is this limited to organization? If I wanted, as a council person, organize this, I still need to get those forms
You
and
would need to
everything?
go through, it would need to go through the city. So if you
Right.
said, I'd like the city to help me participate in cleaning up your district,
Yes, sir.
then you would get with administration, and then the policy would be put in place, notice would be given.
Mhm.
Some volunteer projects can be a certain district, in discussion with the mayor. Some can be affiliated with other groups. Let's say 2 or 3 churches want to get together on a Sunday, and they ask the city to participate.
Mhm.
We give notice, and then for those that are acting or participating in our program, would follow our protocol.
Okay.
First Baptist Church would follow their protocol. The nice gentleman that was here, the last one that had his nonprofit, they have their protocols and procedures, so their participants / volunteers would sign their forms, etc.
Okay.
And Mr. Attorney and Mr. President, here are the forms. If you'll pass those down, I have made some copies. This will, no, I'm sorry, give 2, pass that one all, yeah, that one, give that to Mr. Jefferson. No, not that, no, hold on to those 2 in your right hand and give him the other one. Yeah, pass that all the way down, and pass both all the way down, because there's 2 of them.
We still need 1, 2 more.
No, pass them together, yeah, pass them together.
No, there's 2.
2 at a time,
Oh.
I'm sorry. I should-
All the way down.
There you go, 2 at a time.
2 at a time, 2 at a time.
2 at a time.
Oh, God, y'all
There
better
we
take
go.
this stuff.
Okay. This will take care of any issues with the chamber that came up to the CRA and discussed the beautification program. This is kind of a result of that. I know Ms. Williams and I went out a number of years ago on Miller Street and picked up a lot of trash, and we've had many people ask about it, and some of us have done it kind of voluntarily without this, but this will kind of formalize what we should do and need to do. And I think these, in fact, First Baptist and Westwood are going to do a joint effort in the city on April the 6th. I'll let them talk more about that to everybody when they get ready to.
Mr. Mayor, is that city-wide you talk about these?
Well, I'm not sure I think they're going to start with downtown. The idea with the Chamber of Commerce was to start downtown and then move
Right.
out toward that. But I do think that there was discussion about when the chamber begins to do the downtown, but then in each district, make sure its district is represented.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Resolution 2025-09 passes. Moving on to agenda item 8E, I know Mr. Bradford signed up to comment. Are you going to just comment if there's any questions?
Yes.
Or- Okay, all right, you'll just stand up, ready. Go ahead.
This is the first ordinance, first reading?
Yes, sir.
All right, ordinance number 1529, an ordinance of the city of Live Oak, Florida, amending the future land use classification to 22.81 acres, more or less, small scale, of land on the future land use plan map of the city of Live Oak Comprehensive Plan pursuant to an application CPA 24-06 by the property owners and/or their authorized representative under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3161 through 163.3215 Florida statutes as amended, and Article 3 of the Land Development Regulations of the City of Live Oak, Florida, providing for a change in the assigned future land use classification from residential low density to residential high density on certain lands within the corporate limits of the city of Live Oak, Florida, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, authority, and an effective date. And you need to open up your public hearing for comment on this first reading.
All right, at this point in time, we will open the floor for the public hearing portion of the first reading of ordinance 1529. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I don't see it on here. Can you tell us where this is, what the address is that we're discussing on both of these ordinances?
It's vacantly located between Anna Avenue, Hamilton, and King Street. It intersects all three of those.
On both of them?
What do we look like? No, ma'am, just E is one.
Any further public comments, questions? All right, hearing or seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion of this. Council will be the pleasure of council members.
All the motion for the first reading of ordinance 1529.
You have a motion?
Oh, do you second that?
Yes, sir.
I'm on. Second. I got
Second?
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Now we have discussion time.
All right, of course, I have questions about moving from the low density to high density area. So at low density, what is the number of units that we can have with low density?
Mr. Curtis?
George Curtis, Development Manager, City of Live Oak. The current density is basically two dwelling units per acre. It allows for lot sizes of 20,000 square feet in lot area, which is just under half an acre. So if you take the acreage and the factor that you would multiply it by is 2.178, that would give you the number of homes that the acreage could currently accommodate under the existing land use.
So we have 2 dwellings per acre. Now moving to a high density, what are we talking about?
High density is up to 20 units per acre.
Up to 20 units per acre.
Mhm.
Now, we're talking within the city limits, we're talking about, I know we need homes, I know we need houses, we need places for people to stay here in the city. They're short houses. But as I can recall, and also too, as I become more familiar with what they do in the county, is that it's very particular about having so many houses or so many units of living right up on each other. We're moving from 2 to what that number you just said per acre, 2 to 20 within our city limits. We always say we don't want to become a little Miami, we don't want to become Jacksonville, we don't want to become that. But when you start putting all of these houses in, or these units, living units in such a small area, and you're changing what we say that we don't want to become. I have concerns about the number of units that could go, that we're talking about putting on an acre there. I know this company has been doing a lot of work here in our city. They have been producing houses, but no one has stopped to think about what we want. We always talk about what we want our city, our downtown to look like, but no one has stopped to think about what we want our residential areas to look like. And we don't have a comprehensive plan. We don't have anything that has looked at our residential areas as to prevent us from becoming a Jacksonville or a Miami with the housing, with the number of housing that we're placing in these areas. That's my comment on that right there. That's the reason I would not vote for to move the place, go from low density to a high density with the possibility of putting that many units, the ability to put that many units on a piece of property.
What is your projected number?
So, you never achieve, Jeff Bradford, Bobby Flores, you never achieve that density on the entire property. It's not possible. There's too much flood area. There's too much mitigation. This density and zoning request that we've submitted is to enable us to move forward with a civil engineer to look at options that best suit developing the property. The property is adjacent to a lot of commercial warehouse property, and there's a large portion of it that's flood and would need to be mitigated. The reason for the density is to concentrate the number of units on the buildable area and to move forward with a plan with a civil engineer to bring back and present to the zoning and planning board, which is why we're only going for the density right now and not an actual zoning change. We're just going for the land use so that we can move forward with a civil engineer and look at the developable area and see what the reasonable number of units that we can put on the property and that city utilities can handle. All those things have to be addressed before we move forward. This is just to try to capture the maximum amount of density that we can move forward to so that on the buildable area.
Be ready for the second reading?
So this has been,
No, this is going forward with a civil engineer. The process, it has to go for water management, it has to come back before zoning and planning. There's an extensive process to get approved before you put a shovel on the ground. This property's been unused and there was at one time there was a dilapidated mobile home on Anna Street that was in a flood zone. We removed that. We're working at coming up with a better plan for the entirety of the property. And again, to do that, you need to have the density in place so that you can move forward with a civil engineer and they can look at what the best path to take for development.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but, so you won't have an estimated number before the second reading? Did I misunderstand that?
No, this is
No idea to be passed.
this is the Mr. Curtis can address this, but it allows for that number. To get that number, you'd be multi-story, and that's not what we do. We're not looking to do. I think to get 20 units per acre, you'd have to go above with the floor area ratio above 3 stories. Is that correct? Yeah. And we're not looking to do anything near that quantity. This just allows for because there's a lot of the land that's flooded. It may require that land be donated as water retention for the city and possibly some other infrastructure that we can capture the density that we need to make this a feasible project on the buildable area.
Jeff, I want to ask you a question. Does that include parking?
Well, so right now there's no definitive plan as far as like I said, this is so that we can move forward with a civil engineer.
But
We're looking at a mixed use, just so that I can put that out there. We're looking at a section of it to be Azalea Park style lots, about 7,500 square feet, and then potentially some multifamily duplexes or.
okay, you got the housing covered. I'm asking about the parking.
Well, so all that falls into the civil engineering. You can't just stack houses. You'll have to have infrastructure, roadways. the LDRs require that if you do a duplex, you have, for example, you gotta have 5.45 square feet per door, and you have to have 2 parking spots per door. So all those things are covered in the city land development regulations and the zoning and planning. So absolutely, every house would have the required amount of parking. If there was anything that was multifamily, like just as for example, if we did do something like a small scale apartment, you'd have to have whatever the required parking spaces and green space and landscaping, all those things have to be approved prior to construction. So this is just a land use, so that we can move forward with a civil engineer to decide what the next course of action is, and then we would come back before zoning and planning for zoning that would coincide with the land use, and that would come back before the city council again at that time.
Right.
So I heard you mention King and Anna.
Yes.
That's all in my district.
Yes, sir.
All right, now, where at along Anna and where's that along?
So we're in the dead ends along the power easement.
Right,
That's where the property starts, and it continues all the way up to the back of the property, the warehouse properties on Palm Street.
so you plan on putting the houses along that right away for the power line and all that? That's what you-
So, like I said, we have to look at what the buildable areas are,
Mhm.
and we have to look at what the best use for the property is. But in order to do that,
Yeah,
you have to move forward with a civil engineer, and you have to go through all the steps required. It's a big piece of property, it's a big undertaking, and
how large?
it's 22.81 acres.
All right. So ingress and egress will come from Anna or there'll be continuation?
So that's what it goes before a civil engineer,
Okay.
and they determine all that, and then it goes back for review by the planning and zoning, and then again back to the city council.
All right, I'm for housing, but I'm also want to be very protected. I don't like big cities. I don't like being this close to anybody. Okay.
Mr. Sessions, you have something to add earlier? Sorry.
I was just gonna say that, if you go to 20, if he doesn't go up, it's about 2,200 square feet per lot, but he said when he does the Azalea Park style, that's 7,260 square foot per lot for 6 per acre. But like he said, they have to go through all this other stuff to start with, even to see what they're allowed to do. But I'm all about looking at numbers, and, I don't think they'll be able to squeeze 20 per acre in there, once they start looking at water management needs and everything else. But that's what the specs say, what's written in our city ordinance. So, unless he went up like 2 levels, then he could probably squeeze 20 in. But not with parking and everything. So he's probably not gonna go 2 levels.
I think to get 20, you have to do 3 stories or.
Yeah.
So it's,
As an example, Margo Apartments has a 20 unit per acre density that they could have built to. And based upon their 2-story model with parking, they're right around between 11 and 12 per acre is what they were able to build based on the 2-story Margo. So we don't have any properties in the city that have been able to maximize the 20 units. There's no examples I can point to here on where they've done that, because we don't have any 3, 4, or 5-story apartment complexes like you see in Gainesville and stuff.
So George, what is the size of that Margo complex? Do you know how many acres?
I believe they have around 8
8 acres?
acres, thereabouts.
And that's about, what, 200 apartments out there?
No, they have, I think they
8
have
times
60.
1296.
Yeah, they don't even have,
They don't have that many.
no, and there might be a few more acres then, but their density is about 11 per acre, so,
Okay,
and I think they have about around 75, 80 apartments,
okay.
thereabouts, yeah.
And now you said, portion of it is, the flood area,
Yes,
right? Okay, so, and I know it all depends upon the engineer, what the engineer has to, say about this right here. But other dwellings, I would be concerned about how that would impact the other homes that are around in that area. We have such a problem with flooding.
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
So all those issues have to be addressed with Swan River Water Management. Like I said, a civil engineer comes up with a plan, then it has to go before the Swan. You can't divert water onto other people's property. There's tools that are in place to ensure that, you know, you have enough, water retention to capture it so that you don't overflow onto other people's property. All those things go before numerous boards and processes to be reviewed. It's not, I'm not smart enough to do that. And even civil engineers aren't, you know, they have the calculations, but someone else has to review that and approve it. We're not just we're gonna start flopping houses down here. There's a whole plan that has to come to fruition prior to a shovel going in the ground to build anything.
All right, so we're not gonna have any regrets if we decide to move forward.
Do you have any regrets on what we've done in any other areas of the city?
Huh?
Do you have any regrets on what we've done in Azalea Park?
Really, I don't know.
I mean,
Somebody say
Getting
yeah.
off a little off topic. Anyway, I
But
would like to bring it to
also-
everybody's attention, and then I'll yield it back to you. This is another great example. I know, Mr. Jefferson, you're not a fan of reading ahead and getting with the city manager ahead of time, but there's a great packet that we get every month before the city council meeting that's privy to us as council people with all these information to all these questions that we're asking, again, with answers. Also, there is something here called planning staff recommendation that tells every little thing about it, what the staff has reviewed and those things. So I think we're kind of beating the same drum over and over again. So I just want to point out, this is another good example of if you will pay attention to the packets, if you have questions, that would be a great time to get with Mr. Sessions ahead of the meeting, and then he can also direct you at his discretion to either Mr. Curtis or whatever the area is, and that would eliminate a lot of this, commenting and speculation. Also, I'm not finished talking yet. Also, the sidebar conversations, I have to remind you again, and I'm reminded before each meeting, these microphones pick up every single thing that is said. So if you're having a sidebar conversation, just know that it's picked up by the microphone and it goes under public record. So just caution you guys about that. I don't think you understand that. When I'm talking, it's not really, great for you to keep saying, I understand.